I had just set down my coffee when 3 men in Oak Creek preserve jackets marched up my gravel drive, one of them revving a grinder like he was about to cut a junk car in half. "Sir, step aside," the first one said flatly, not even looking me in the eye. Sparks were already spraying from my steel gate when I shouted back that they were cutting on the wrong side of the line. My dog barked like thunder, my wife's hand tightened around mine, and in that instant I knew this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a takeover. I didn't buy 5 acres of woods and peace just to let some HOA queen strip it away. The land had been our sanctuary, quiet mornings with deer in the mist, a cabin porch big enough for rocking chairs, the kind of silence you can't buy in the city. But Evelyn Reed, president of Oak Creek HOA, saw all that as a problem. Her perfect little community next door had identical mailboxes, plastic smiles, and bylaws for how high your grass could grow. And she wasn't about to let our gravel driveway and stubborn gate sit unapproved at her border. The first warning came in a letter, all embossed crests and legal threats. For the benefit of the community, it read, "I was to remove or unlock my gate within 14 days. Failure to comply meant legal action." Maya laughed when I read it out loud, laughed but with her jaw tight. I knew better. This wasn't a request, it was the first strike. I replied in kind, notarized, sharp no sugar. "This property is privately owned and maintained solely by me. Any unauthorized entry will be treated as trespass." I figured that would draw the line. Instead, they cut the wires to my gate. Clean slice like it had been done with bolt cutters. That's when I buried conduit in steel, put up motion cams, floodlights, even a trail cam in the trees. If they wanted a fight, I was done being polite. Sure enough, the cameras caught them. 2 figures in a red pickup sneaking in at 2 a.m., staking a sign right into my soil scenic trail, Oak Creek HOA. My land, their sign. That morning I called the sheriff, but the deputy who showed up treated it like a neighborhood squabble. "Civil matter," he said. Civil matter my ass, they were forging a road across my property. That's when I called Joe Sanderson, an old friend and a lawyer who knew exactly how to chew up HOA boards for breakfast. Joe told me to document everything, and I did. Photos of footprints, video of trucks, survey stakes driven into my creek bed. But the real shock came when Joe called late one night, voice tight as a guitar string. They filed an easement claim he said supposedly signed by Charles Langley. My stomach turned. Langley was the old man who'd sold me this land. He'd been dead 5 years, and the notary who stamped it retired in 2011. My fist clenched so hard my knuckles cracked. They hadn't just trespassed, they had resurrected a dead man's signature to steal what was mine. That night I sat in the kitchen documents spread out like a battlefield map. Maya leaned on my shoulder, exhausted from a 12-hour shift at the clinic, and whispered, "Are we making this worse? Maybe we should let it go." For the first time, I wondered if she was right. Maybe we were the crazy ones clinging to a gate while the world branded us selfish. I stared at those papers, at the forged signature of a man I'd once shaken hands with, and I almost broke. But then Maya slid her hand into mine, steady and firm, the way she held a scalpel in the ER. "If we back down now, they'll take everything. We didn't come here to be ruled, Ethan. We came here to be free." Her words lit something in me hotter than rage resolve. I wasn't wrong. They were. And it was time the whole county saw it. We filed for an injunction, and a judge signed it. The HOA was barred from touching my property. But Evelyn Reed wasn't finished. 2 mornings later, I woke to the screech of metal. 2 trucks idled in my driveway, their doors stamped with Oak Creek Preserve Development. A grinder sparked against my gate, chewing through steel like a sawmill. And there she was, sunglasses, gleaming arms folded, directing it like she was orchestrating a mural, not a crime. I shouted for them to stop, my voice cutting through the roar. The grinder hesitated. Evelyn's porcelain smile never moved. "Mr. Vance," she said smoothly, "you left us no choice. This is an emergency development measure." I barked a laugh, pulled out my phone, and hit record. With one tap, my drone buzzed up from its dock, circling the trucks, streaming footage straight to the cloud. "Smile, Evelyn. I said this is going to court. And it did. Judge Halverson watched the footage projected onto a courtroom wall, the sparks flying Evelyn, standing proud, one of her workers muttering on tape Karen said it was fine. The gallery gasped. Joe handed over the forged easement proof the signature belonged to a dead man and financial records tracing HOA dues straight into Evelyn's cousin's fake company. By the time the accountant testified, the gallery was buzzing like a hornet's nest. Evelyn sat, stiff eyes locked forward, her mask cracking by the second. The jury took less than 3 hours. Guilty. On all counts, fraud, forgery, trespass, misuse of funds. The gavel slammed down like a gunshot. Evelyn Reed, the Queen of Oak Creek, was done. Deputies cuffed her right there, hauling her out past the same neighbors she'd ruled with an iron smile. She tried to glare at me one last time, but there was nothing left in it, no power, just bitterness. I didn't cheer. I didn't clap. I just sat there breathing out for what felt like the first time in months. My gait was mangled, my gravel scarred, but the line had held. They wanted to bury me under lies, under forged papers, and late-night sabotage. Instead, they buried themselves. Some fights you don't choose. They come to your doorstep with a grinder and a smile, and you either step aside or you stand your ground. Never let someone else decide where your line ends.